Hello everyone, and welcome to Frightober 2016. For just this 1 month of the year, and hopefully a few more years to come at least, I'll be changing things up for this channel. Normally, I go out of my way with my tutorials to never tell you what to make, and instead focus on concepts and techniques so you can make whatever it is you want to make. But for just October, I'll be doing 4 tutorials on how to recreate 4 specific horror effects in your videos. For our first effect, I'll be going into an effect familiar to Silent Hill fans, the head shake. If you've played Silent Hill, or more recently PT, this is something you'll be familiar with. But what you might not know is that the Silent Hill franchise got the idea for this effect from a 1990 film, Jacob's Ladder. In the movie, Jacob, the titular character played by Tim Robbins, has come back from Vietnam and is, throughout the movie, descending into apparent insanity. The movie had a lot of stellar practical effects, and it really does make for a fascinating watch. But, for this tutorial, there's a scene where Jake's at a party and sees something weird. A man in a doorway seems to be watching him, and as Jake looks back, the man's head starts spasming and eventually he switches to a mannequin before coming back to being a person. To start the effect, we'll go into how it works using still images before going into your video. First, you will need multiple frames of your creature. If you have footage of someone shaking their head, you can just take a few of the frames from that. But I'll be using my go-to, Poser, to fake these shots, but the same ideas will apply. You'll want to get a variety of angles for their head while the body itself either doesn't move or isn't in frame. Just keep in mind that the more angles you get, the more variety you'll be able to add. Once you have all the photos, hop over to your editor. For this method, it's going to be more editing than animation, so you don't specifically need an animation program like After Effects to pull this off. We'll first need to bring our angles into the program. Whether in AE, Premiere, Vegas, whatever, we'll then take our angles and start putting them in the timeline for as long as we want the effect to last. For mine, I wanted to have a bit of a rhythm to it, so I used the shots with the head turned far left, far right, and staring right at the camera. Then, on top of those layers, we'll add our other angle shots and make them shorter. Place them so they cover the gaps between the previous ones, as well as slightly overlapping the edges of the previous image on both sides. Then, we select those overlapping images and drop the opacity for all of them. To make this quicker, we can hold Command or Control and click on our overlapping angles. Or we can click one, hold Shift, and click another to pick the whole range of them. Then, type T, and drag on the number next to the opacity property that shows up on your highlighted layers, which will change all of their opacities at once. Now we have our twitching head. With our overlapping layers, it'll look like the head's blurring with motion. If you have a particularly cool, horrible expression you want to show through, you can also drag your newer layers under the main angles, which will move the blur down and let you show the main face more clearly. We've now got a proper Jacob's Ladder head twitch. You may also need to go through once it's done and fix the timing for your stills, or change the time of the comp as a whole if things linger too long. However, this type is only good for still images, but we have learned 2 important factors. 1, we need our character's head shaking, and we need another version of the head shaking over top of that to give it that cool blur look. No reason we can't apply this to footage. So say we have footage of the person shaking their head, which we used for the previous section. This will still be relatively simple since we don't have a moving body. In After Effects, we can drop this into a comp. Then, we can right-click our footage and in the menu that pops up, go under Time and click Time Stretch. In the window that pops up, we can then change the actual time or the percentage of the whole clip. One will always change the other. Since I know that I want my head shake to last 10 seconds, the same as before, I can just click in the time and change it all to zeros. Then, I change the last 4 numbers to 09, semicolon, 29. Then I hit OK. My footage is now sped up so it ends by 10 seconds. Then, we can do the same thing we did for the first type of animation by duplicating our footage using Command or Control D in the timeline. Then we just move the copied footage a few frames ahead or behind and drop the opacity. And now we've made our footage look like the characters got the effect. But we can take this a step further because we can use this footage on a character that's actually walking, shambling, or running. Using actual footage, it might take a bit more work than I'll show here because again I'm using Poser for animation and not actually shooting the footage. We're going to need at least 2 pieces of footage either way for this. For one, we'll need the character coming towards the camera. While they're moving at us, have them shake their head. Then, if you're using animation software, just add motion blur to the whole thing. If you're using footage, you should be able to take what I went over in the first 2 parts and apply it with screen caps and speed changing over the footage, at least in theory. But depending on the program and settings, you might run into a problem here where the walking body is also blurred. If you're using real footage, your actor might also have been moving their body from the swaying head. Either way, that's why we might need the second piece of footage. For the other piece we'll need, have your model walk the same path as before. This time though, have them keep their head straight so their body doesn't sway at all. For the animation, disable the motion blur here so your body will be crisp. If your character's walking over a green screen, you'll want to remove that next. If you don't know how to do that, I'll add a card linking to a tutorial I did on the subject here. Now, to pull off the actual effect, we'll put a mask on our non-blurred footage using the pen tool to wrap around the character's head. Then, we'll hit the stopwatch next to our mask's path. If you don't see it, just unroll the mask under your layers. As the footage goes through, we'll adjust the anchor points of the mask to match the movements so the head will stay masked all the way through the footage. Then, click on the small checkbox where it says invert on the other side. This will make it so our body is shown and the head will be hidden. We then jump back to the very start of our timeline and click on the word mask 1 in that footage using Command-Control-C. Click on the other layer then and type Command-Control-V, which will add the mask with the exact same animations to our blurred footage. And then click off the invert on our blurred layers mask since that's where we want our head to show. Our last step will be to add all the other things we want for our video. This can be texturing your models, making your backgrounds, doing other scenes, color grading, whatever you need for your idea. And that was how to pull off a Silent Hill styled head twitch effect. I hope everyone's learned something and had fun doing it. If you have any questions, thoughts, or other feedback, you can let me know with a comment below or with a message to @ET_studios on Twitter. You can also like this video and share it around. I'd appreciate the help getting the word out. And I'm planning to be back here every Friday, so be sure to subscribe for more awesome content. Have a great day, everyone.